Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair. Basically, I am working as a software project delivery head, and today basically we are going to discuss about the one document that is basically a project specification. Basically, you can say it's a program specification. Also, you can say what actually this document contains. This document contains one example I will give. From that example, it will be more clear. Because when you give any example, then in that example basically definition also comes and everything also comes. So that example says that there is one project that has to be cleared, and in that basically there is one login screen that has to be developed. So that login screen has to be developed. So how basically you project manager will tell the developer that these are all the things which you have to do, so that the developer is not supposed to disturb you again and again. So for what that basically, which document you will basically going to create, so that the developer can create easily without even without your communication. Because sometimes what happens, the project manager is at USA and the developer is at India or in New Zealand or in other countries. So basically their communication has to be like more communication is not possible basically. So that basically one document has to be prepared. That document contains the entire information of that login screen, how basically login screen is going to be developed, what are the user controls basically you have to take, text box, label, how the login screen is going to be prepared, how many buttons will be there, how many validations will be there, how many database related stuff will be there in that login screen, how the login screen is going to look. Each and everything basically you have to display in that document. You have to document in that document basically. You can say you can write each and everything which has to be done by the developer. So in that basically there is one document that is program specification or program specification would be good name. So that basically document you have to prepare. So for that basically there is one document that is basically program specification or project specification. You can say program specification will be good name, and in that basically project, what are the things basically you have to take in to prepare while preparing the project specification or program specification. You can give us you login screen specification also you can give in that basically first basically you have to add what would be the project ID, project number, project name, specification ID. Specification ID means this is a program specification which you are creating, and this is for login screen. Like this, there might be many screens basically in the project. So this is basically specification ID. Then what is the specification name? That name which we have given is login screen creation. Who is the author? Author means you can say who is the project manager, who is the project leader, who is the project director of this login screen. Then basically things basically comes is section one. Basically you can say login screen brief introduction. You have to give little bit brief introduction about the login screen, how login screen will be going to look. Sorry, here basically design will not come. Basically, you have to write each and everything in Word. So how the login screen going to be prepared? How basically which type of specification you have to add here? Basically, in short, basically little bit brief information about the login screen. In this login screen, basically two types of user will be there. One is the normal user, then the consultants are there, then the Windows authentication users can also do the login from this login screen. So each and every information, brief information, you have to give in this section one. Then basically section two says that you have to give each and every screen part. You have to draw each and every screen. Basically, for example, login screen basically contain one user control labels are there. How login screen will be going to look? That screen you have to display here. That so that the developer can basically able to create that login screen. How many fields will be there? For example, login ID is there, login password is there, So these two are the fields. So basically, you have to give the field name and the field information, whether it's which type, it's a password, text control, it's a combo, or it's a checkbox. What actually it is? It's a text box. So basically, password is a password, and then basically all the values. Then the section another part comes as a validation information. Validation information means each and every validation you have to give. Validation contains the client side validation and then the database level side, server side validation. Client side validation says that the username, each and everything, has not to be empty. It can't be number. It can't be special characters. So this type of validation you have to give basically, and the database level validation means basically the user ID which you are going to enter that must be exist in the database, and the password also must be same as which you have already entered in the database while doing the registration of the login screen. While registering the user, basically, we can say. Here we assume that login registration screen is already done because then also you can do the login part basically. So here another is basically we can write here as the documents which basically this is basically I have added here. This basically does mostly while preparing the project specification, program specification. This part is not added, but here basically I have added here so that basically if any confusion or any things comes, then basically it can be cleared in programs project specification only. So we have to add each and every documents which is connected with this program specification. So whatever this another section basically which we have added here, that is basically section 3 basically. Section 1 was basically contain the login brief information. Another was how the login screen will be looking, the validation, the field speed, each and everything. And the third section is basically all the document names. All the document names contains each and every documents which basically is connected with this user specification. So here basically we have taken few documents. You can add according to your requirement also because each and every company says that their requirements are totally different. ISO level documentation are different. CMM level 5 documentation are different. CMM level are documents or Six Sigma documents are different. So each and every private company says that we have prepared our own documentation. So here basically, but the documentation should be unique so that basically in future basically it can be used in as a global also. So here the documentation says that there are few documentation which you have to use in this while preparing the project. First is the UTC that is basically you can say. UTC says that unit test case or each and every unit test case name you have to add here which is connected with this login screen. Then the project management plan documentation, HLD is a little bit flow diagram of the WBS also you can add here if you want to add here basically because WBS we are taking here. The reason is basically when you are preparing the project specification or program specification, you should be you should be in clear picture the where the login screen is going. Basically how the login screen is going to connect to your system basically so that basically each and everything has to be clear. So basically this is Sunil R. Nair basically. This was about the scope management plan and we are signing off from this video, and this was about the scope management, sorry, program specification of the PMP basically. So this is Sunil R. Nair signing off here.